Tonight, when darkness falls, you'll flip a switch without a second thought. Light will instantly flood the room. But for almost all of human history, that switch didn't exist. For roughly 300,000 years, when the sun disappeared, the visible world disappeared with it. Our ancestors spent nearly half their lives surrounded by darkness, often with nothing but the stars overhead and a fire struggling to stay alive. Most nights had no lamps, no electricity, and no easy way to push back the dark. That raises a question few people ever ask. What did humans actually do with all those hours after sunset? The answer changes the way we think about sleep, culture, and even human nature itself. To understand ancient nights, we have to begin with humanity's most important invention: fire. The oldest confirmed evidence of controlled fire comes from Wonderwork Cave in South Africa and dates back roughly 1 million years. Fire did much more than provide warmth. It fundamentally changed how humans experience time. Before fire, our ancestors lived much like other primates. When darkness arrived, movement became dangerous and shelter became survival. Human eyes are poorly adapted for the night compared to predators. Leopards, hyenas, and wolves could move confidently through darkness, while humans remained vulnerable. A single campfire changed that balance. Its light created a small circle of safety in an otherwise hostile world. Inside the glow, people were protected. Outside it, danger waited. Even modern studies of hunter-gatherer groups show that leaving the firelight at night dramatically increases the risk of predator encounters. But protection wasn't fire's greatest gift. Fire gave humanity something even more valuable: extra time. Before fire, the useful part of the day ended when the sun disappeared. Fire extended human activity by several hours every night. Across thousands of generations, those extra hours accumulated into one of the most important advantages humans ever gained. And those hours would eventually become the foundation of culture itself. In 2014, anthropologist Polly Wiesner published research that revealed something remarkable about life around ancient campfires. She spent years recording conversations among the Jew/Hoansi people of the Kalahari, one of the last groups living a lifestyle similar to our distant ancestors. What she found was unexpected. During the day, conversations were mostly practical. People discussed hunting, gathering, food, disputes, and daily survival. But after sunset, everything changed. Once the fire was lit, stories took over. People talked about distant places they had never seen. They shared myths explaining how the world began. They told jokes that made the entire camp laugh. And they passed down knowledge from one generation to the next. According to Wiesner, these nighttime conversations may have helped create human culture itself. The campfire became humanity's first classroom, its first theater, its first place of worship, and perhaps its first social network. Around those flames, people learned to imagine worlds beyond what they could immediately see. But storytelling wasn't the only thing happening after dark. There was another ancient nighttime behavior that modern humans have almost completely forgotten. For thousands of years, people didn't sleep the way we sleep today. The discovery came from historian Roger Kirch. He spent 16 years studying diaries, court records, medical texts, prayer books, and ancient literature. Again and again, he encountered references to something called first sleep and second sleep. At first, the pattern seemed strange. Then it appeared everywhere. The evidence suggested that sleeping through the entire night in one stretch was not the historical norm. Instead, people followed a very different rhythm. People usually went to sleep shortly after darkness fell. They would sleep for roughly 4 hours. Then something surprising happened. They woke up naturally in the middle of the night. Not because of noise, not because of danger, and not because something was wrong. This period of wakefulness could last 1 or even 2 hours. Afterward, people would return to sleep until sunrise. For centuries, this pattern was considered completely normal. People prayed during these quiet nighttime hours. They reflected on dreams while they were still fresh in memory. Some visited neighbors. Others read, wrote, or simply sat alone with their thoughts. A physician writing in 16th century France even recommended this period as the ideal time for married couples. Medical texts described these hours as unusually calm and mentally clear. Historians had been reading references to first sleep for generations, but many failed to recognize what they were seeing. The idea that humans once slept differently seemed too strange to believe. Then modern science stepped in. In 1992, psychiatrist Thomas were designed an experiment to test what human sleep looks like without artificial light. Volunteers were removed from modern lighting and exposed to long periods of darkness every night. The results were astonishing. Within a few weeks, participants naturally adopted the same sleep pattern described in historical records. 4 hours of sleep, a period of quiet wakefulness, then another 4 hours of sleep. No one instructed them to do this. Their bodies simply returned to an older rhythm. We discovered something else during that wakeful period. The brain began producing unusually high levels of prolactin. This is the same hormone associated with relaxation, meditation, and deep calm. Participants described the experience as peaceful, reflective, almost dreamlike. It was a state of consciousness most modern people rarely experience. So what happened to it? The answer is surprisingly simple. Light changed everything. Beginning in the 1600s, cities started installing street lamps. Paris was among the first major cities to illuminate its streets at night. London soon followed. Then came cheaper candles, gas lighting, and eventually Thomas Edison's commercial light bulb in 1879. Within only a few generations, an ancient human rhythm that had existed for hundreds of thousands of years nearly disappeared. Today, most people spend 7 to 8 hours exposed to artificial light after sunset. That light suppresses melatonin, the hormone that helps regulate sleep. Your brain cannot fully distinguish artificial light from daylight. To your biology, a bright room at 11 p.m. still looks surprisingly similar to daytime. And that may be why waking up at 2 in the morning isn't necessarily a malfunction. It could simply be your body remembering a pattern it followed for thousands of generations. We traded ancient nights for modern light. And most of us never noticed what disappeared along the way.